So you're maybe looking at a new piece of technology, right? Trying to figure out if it's worth your time or if it actually solves a problem you have.
Yeah, absolutely.
And technical books, they can be absolute gold mines, but let's be honest, sometimes you need the fast track.
Hmm. The quick version.
The key takeaways, yeah. Presented in a way that helps you see the bigger picture, maybe its value proposition.
Right.
And that's really what we're doing today with Mastering Amazon OpenSearch. Think of this as your streamlined overview of what the book offers, especially if Amazon OpenSearch service is something you're considering.
Precisely. Yeah, we've uh, sifted through mastering Amazon OpenSearch to try and bring you the essential information, really focusing on why this book could be, well, it's a strategic asset for you.
Okay.
Our aim is pretty much to describe it and highlight its value, kind of from a marketing angle, especially for folks maybe considering diving into Amazon OpenSearch service.
And when we say this book, Mastering Amazon OpenSearch, digs in, it really seems like it does. This isn't just scratching the surface. It looks like it goes from the real foundational concepts of OpenSearch all the way to some pretty sophisticated areas, like integrating machine learning, even cost optimization.
And it covers both, right? The self-managed OpenSearch and the managed Amazon OpenSearch service.
Exactly. The book seems to walk you through setting things up, getting data, in that's the indexing part, finding what you need through querying, handling security, and importantly, keeping an eye on the budget.
It really does seem comprehensive.
So who is this actually for? Is it just for deep tech experts?
Well, that's what's interesting. It doesn't seem limited to just one role. You've got developers maybe wanting to build search into their apps,
Okay.
operations teams, keeping things running smoothly, data engineers building out pipelines, even analysts who need to visualize and make sense of the data.
So quite a broad audience then.
It seems that way.
Yeah.
It feels like if you're involved with OpenSearch or the AWS service in almost any technical capacity, there's likely something relevant in here for you.
Okay, let's maybe unpack that a bit more. For someone who needs to get up to speed on what seems like a complex system, but, efficiently,
Mm.
does this book help?
It certainly appears to offer a well-defined path. Just looking at the table of contents, you see a really clear structure. It's broken down into parts, then chapters within those parts.
Suggests a logical progression, maybe, building understanding step by step.
Exactly. And that structured approach is pretty crucial for avoiding, well, information overload. That's always a risk with new tech.
Totally. You dive in too deep, too fast, and it's just overwhelming.
Right. So this seems designed to break down complex ideas into more digestible chunks. You don't leap straight into advanced stuff. You build that foundation first.
And it feels practical, not just theory.
Very much so, it seems. The descriptions talk about teaching you how to build real-time monitoring systems or create effective search experiences, develop large-scale analytics. That points towards real-world application, not just abstract concepts.
Okay, so what are some of those core topics then? Looking at the content, part 1, the introduction, seems like the obvious starting point.
Yeah, Chapter 1 defines OpenSearch, explains why it's important today with, big data, real-time analytics.
And it mentions the open source aspect.
It does. Highlights it came from Elasticsearch under the Apache 2.0 license. That means flexibility, community support, big pluses.
Then Chapter 3 sounds really key for decision-making. It compares OpenSearch directly with Amazon OpenSearch service.
Yeah, and that looks super valuable if you're weighing up managing it yourself versus using the AWS managed service.
Wow.
This chapter gives that side-by-side view.
On things like deployment, management, security.
Storage, cost optimization, all the critical factors.
Yeah.
That comparison alone could save someone a ton of research time.
Definitely. And then Chapter 4 gets into the core concepts, domains, nodes, clusters, indices.
The fundamental building blocks, yeah. You need to grasp those, whether you go self-managed or use the service.
Essential stuff. Chapter 5 then tackles versions and compatibility. Always tricky.
Can be a headache. So it covers the OpenSearch versions, compatibility with older Elasticsearch versions, and importantly, aligning your client SDKs.
SDKs, the software development kits.
Right, the things your applications use to talk to OpenSearch. Making sure they match your OpenSearch version is critical.
Gotcha. Okay, moving on to the more hands-on stuff. Part 2, getting started, looks like it guides you through using the AWS service specifically.
Seems like it. Chapter 6 starts with setting up your AWS environment. Chapter 7 walks through creating your first OpenSearch domain.
And then Chapters 8, 9, and 10 cover interacting with it.
Yeah, using the AWS console, the web interface,
Okay.
the CLI, the command line interface for,
Yeah.
text-based management.
Right.
and OpenSearch dashboards, which is the visual tool for exploring your data. It looks like a very practical, hands-on start.
Good. Then in the part 3, indexing and searching. This has got to be central.
Absolutely. Chapter 11 focuses on bulk indexing, getting large amounts of data in efficiently, and managing it once it's there.
Crucial for real data volumes.
Totally. Then Chapter 12 covers querying data with REST APIs. That's the basic way you ask OpenSearch for information, how you get data out.
But it goes beyond just basic queries.
Apparently so. Chapter 13 gets into advanced search techniques and query DSL.
DSL, domain-specific language.
Right. More powerful tools for complex searches. And then Chapter 14 is interesting. It talks about using SQL and PPL.
SQL, like database queries?
Yeah, structured query language and piped processing language. Alternative ways to query and analyze data in OpenSearch, which is great if you're already comfortable with those languages.
So it caters to different skill sets there.
Seems like it, yeah. Broadens the appeal.
And the book thinks about the whole data lifecycle, too. Part 4, Data Ingestion, has a chapter on building ingestion pipelines.
Right, showing us it's not just a one-off import, but about setting up ongoing, efficient data flows.
Okay, let's jump ahead a bit. Part 8, Advanced Features, sounds interesting. What's in there?
Well, Chapter 31 covers index state management and rollups. That's key for managing data lifecycle.
Like moving old data to cheaper storage automatically.
Exactly that. Can save a lot on AWS costs over time. Then Chapter 32 gets into machine learning within OpenSearch.
Ooh, like what?
It mentions things like anomaly detection, finding weird patterns in your data automatically, and natural language processing. So integrating ML right into your search and analytics.
Okay, that's pretty advanced.
Yeah. And Chapter 33 hits performance and scaling with asynchronous search and point-in-time queries, important for big data.
Chapter 34, Observability and Security Analytics, using OpenSearch for monitoring and threat detection.
Yep. Highlights its use cases in those areas.
And then there's a whole section on running things day to day, Part 9, Operations and Management.
Looks incredibly practical. Chapters 36 through 41 cover service software updates, backups using snapshots, cost optimization again, high availability.
Making sure it doesn't fall over.
Right. And just generally maintaining the long-term health of your cluster, all that essential operational stuff.
Wow, okay. It really does cover a lot of ground.
And then finally, the appendices look useful too. Quick references.
Like what?
Appendix A is an OpenSearch REST API overview. B covers pricing and support. C is a glossary, always helpful.
True.
D has sample queries and scripts. And E offers useful links for further reading. Good supplementary stuff.
So thinking back to our listener who wants to get informed quickly, it really does sound like mastering Amazon OpenSearch could be that shortcut.
It appears designed that way. And with such a range of topics, you're likely to find those aha moments, those useful insights scattered throughout.
Right. And crucially, maybe the clear structure we talked about going from basic to advanced seems like it would help prevent that feeling of just being drowned in technical detail all at once.
Yeah, it aims to avoid the overwhelm.
So, summing it up, mastering Amazon OpenSearch. It sounds like a really thorough, practical guide for pretty much anyone needing to understand, set up, or run Amazon OpenSearch service well.
I'd agree. It seems to cater to various roles, different levels of expertise, giving you the foundations, but also the deep dives into the more advanced features.
So if you're listening and thinking about how to really harness search analytics at scale with OpenSearch on AWS, this book definitely looked like a resource worth checking out.
Absolutely. Which maybe leads to a final thought. Considering the sheer volume, the complexity of data many people are dealing with now, how could really understanding a tool like Amazon OpenSearch service, the way this book seems to promise, fundamentally change your ability to pull out those truly meaningful insights?